People say, what does 48 hours make a difference with a high ankle sprain? It makes a big difference, and it can make a difference. And the fact that he's not, I mean, Nick Sirianni came out and said Friday he's going to be listed as questionable. Well, by Tuesday, he's not questionable. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that tells you, even in that short window, they've seen significant improvement to move him up from questionable to no, he's playing.
.365 guys here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, and it's uncharted waters for us. A game day Tuesday. Hopefully we never have to get used to this. This is a specialized situation, one that the Eagle fans have bemoaned since it became common knowledge that it was going to happen. But now we're actually to game day, so let's get to it. John McMullen, it's a must win for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a phrase that we probably throw around too much, and I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but it's damn close.
It's damn close. It's not 100% accurate, but it's damn close. Eagles got to win this football game, or they're essentially out. They have like a 5% chance of making the playoffs if the stars align. But yeah, they got to win it. They should win it. They have everything lined up for them to win the football game. So you just got to go out there and do it. But as we saw last night, Joey, there is a human nature aspect to this. People just constantly ignore in professional football. We talk about teams playing up to their competition, playing down to their competition. We just got done a weekend where the team with the worst record in the NFL routed a team with the best record in the NFL. And you probably saw the team last night who can beat anybody and lose to anybody, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. And you've seen that through this year where they've beaten Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and they've lost to the Detroit Lions. There is a human nature aspect to letting yourself down. No matter how much you talk about it, no matter how much you say it's not there, there is sort of a, we don't have to worry about that this week. That's what you got to guard against. And I don't know if you can guard against it. We talk about how does Nick Sirianni. I don't know if you can. I mean, if you could, everybody would do it. It's tough to do it. You think about your regular life, your daily life, and you just relax and say, this is not going to be as difficult as I thought it was going to be. And maybe you get thrown a curveball in any aspect. That's what happens with NFL players as well.
So let me ask you about the human nature aspect of it. Both teams have a human nature aspect coming into tonight's game. The Washington football team probably a little grateful that this game was pushed back. They got a couple of their key elements on the defensive side, defensive line, Matt Ioannidis. They are in a better position to win this game than if it had been played on Sunday. We will find out later on today, and I'll get the exact timing of that with you in just a second, as to how their quarterback situation is going to shake out. But Washington is probably in a better spot to potentially win the game than they were had it been scheduled as is. The Eagles, not so much. Yeah, you get back Quez Watkins, which is nice, but you lose Landon Dickerson, which could be huge. So you've got one team that's probably thankful what happened, one team that's a little ticked off for what happened. How did the two coaches make sure the focus stays for both of those teams? That Washington knows that they got a little bit of an advantage. Now they have to take advantage of that. Meanwhile, the Eagles have to put their annoyance level and focus it on the Washington football team. Tell me how both of the coaches play this in the locker room.
Well, I think it's easier for the coach who's up against it, so-called, because it's easier to play the nobody believes in us card. Nobody thinks we have anybody out there. Plus, in theory, you have hungry guys getting an opportunity to play who would not have an opportunity to play. So in a lot of ways, that part of it takes care of itself because those guys are very hungry. And then when you have issues like that, it tends to turn into, okay, what happens in the game if early in the game the better team kind of steps on the other team's throat, then you might see them give up and say, all right, we got no chance here. But coming into the game, they should be fired up, ready to prove themselves, ready to go. So it's a little bit more difficult for Nick Sirianni, who's got, the Eagles aren't happy that Landon Dickerson isn't going to be there. And by the way, he still might. He's in the same testing situation as everybody else now. They're going to test this morning. And if his cycle threshold is at the point it's going to be, then he can come off the list. And the same with Andre Dillard, and the same with Taylor Heineke, and the same with Kyle Allen. The difference is, and I tried to lock this down all day yesterday, because people are giving me questions why the NFL set another record of players going on the COVID list. And everybody's rightfully saying, why? They changed the testing. Isn't it easier? Yes and no. The new testing protocols are in effect already. So that means you can come back in a day. The protocols for the testing don't come into effect until December 27th, as I understand it, which is next Monday. So in other words, they're still testing people. Whereas next week...
Is it next Monday or after tonight's games? I thought it was
December 20. The testing changes are already in effect. They started Monday. They're in effect. So in other words, you don't need 2 tests for 24 hours. The new testing protocols are in effect. However, when we talk about they're not going to test healthy, asymptomatic people showing no symptoms, as I'd like to call it, the TSA pre-check method, because essentially vaccinated people are getting the pre-check, but every once in a while, the guy will pull you over and say, you're up. You got to give them your phone, and they do whatever the hell they do with your phone. They probably get all your personal information. I don't know. But that's when the TSA pre-check method doesn't start until next week. And I got that from an Eagles source. I didn't get it from an NFL source, which is unfortunate. But that's why you're still seeing what's going on. And I said this last week on the show, and I know this is boring and we're getting in the weeds, and I'll move on pretty quickly. But as I said last week on the show, Jody, guys who tested positive, they're not going to magically test negative. So a ton of guys aren't going to come off this list until they stop testing people, healthy asymptomatic people. Otherwise, they're going to have to go through the cycle of the virus or whatever, and they got to get that viral load down, whatever. So you haven't seen a ton of Washington. They got some guys back. Somebody like Montez Sweat, for instance, that's after the 10 days. It's still going to be very difficult for people like Landon Dickerson, or even more difficult for Andre Dillard, tested positive yesterday. If they test negative today, that just tells you the test was a false positive, basically.
Probably, yeah. The one non-false positive, the just flat out positive for the Eagles with the fact that this game day was pushed back, was 2 extra days of rest and rehab for Jalen Hurts. And I know you guys weren't allowed to go down and view practice the way you would on a usual Tuesday on Monday, but this is a different Monday. There was no injury designation officially released by the Eagles after their practice/walkthrough yesterday, which I think it's very safe to read into it that Jalen Hurts is close to 100%. I don't think we'll know until he gets out there on the field and actually has to make a move. You gave us the read on he looks fine going straight ahead, but side to side, when last you saw him, was still a little dicey and a little bit of a question mark. He's going to be their starting quarterback tonight. It hasn't officially been announced, but I'm giving you my speculation right here, right now. He's going to be their starting QB. And sorry for you Gardner Minshew fans, I think he gives them the best chance to win the game tonight. If you're putting your best foot forward, you got to win this game. John and I agreed it's damn close to a must win. I think you got a better chance to must win with Jalen Hurts than Gardner Minshew. And I don't know if that had been the case if this game had actually been played on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, people say, what does 48 hours make a difference with a high ankle sprain? It makes a big difference, and it can make a difference. And the fact that he's not, I mean, Nick Sirianni came out and said Friday he's going to be listed as questionable. Well, by Tuesday, he's not questionable. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that tells you, even in that short window, they've seen significant improvement to move him up from questionable to no, he's playing. So every day, farther off that injury, you get a little bit better. As you mentioned, 100%. No, he's not going to be 100%, but nobody in the NFL is going to be 100. Jason Kelsey isn't going to be 100%. I guarantee you that, but he's going to be out there. So that's just part of professional football, and part that I think a lot of people don't put into the equation when they see somebody play a bad game, or they see somebody do less than what is expected. Sometimes guys are out there playing at not an optimal level because they have to play. And that basically defines the entire NFL over the last month of the season. And here we are, last month of the season, and you saw some ugly football last night for a lot of reasons. That's one of the reasons, mainly COVID reasons, but that's one of the reasons as well.
And we'll find out in less than 8 hours if ugly football is upon us here in Philadelphia for tonight's game. About 11 hours. Math has never been my strong suit. 7 o'clock.
You're the better math one.
Yeah,
you're the better one.
That's not a good sign for Birds 365 if I'm the math whiz out of the two. So you'll head down to the stadium tonight to watch the game. How weird is it going to be there on a Tuesday? Is it just game day, or it's a night game rather than an afternoon game? Does it just blend in and you forget what day of the week it is and just go there to cover the game and handle it the exact same ways? Or is it going to be funky for you and everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest issues are trying to get down there because the Flyers are playing as well. So trying to get to the parking lots. And
do you usually park in the Wells Fargo parking lot? Yeah. Oh, so you know that you cannot do that tonight, right?
No, we can. Fans can't. We still park in the Wells Fargo parking lot.
You sure about that?
I'm 100% sure.
Okay. Because there was an official note that was put out that said only Flyer parking in the Wells Fargo parking lot tonight. Maybe it doesn't include you press guys, but I didn't see anywhere in the memo where it said, yes, Eagle Press can still park here. They just said, unless you're going to the Flyer game, don't plan on parking here.
Well, that's why you confirm it, Jody. So I have confirmed it. Yeah, we're still parking in the same lot. Hopefully fans realize they can't park there, but I don't have a lot of confidence in that because they don't know they can't. Generally, because we're in the same, and nobody probably cares about this, but we're in the D lot of the Wells Fargo Center. So we cross the street and we're right at the media entrance, basically, is where we are. Now, there's also regular fan parking in a different area in the same lot, but you have to have permits for that. And, those people pay a lot of money for that parking, whatever. I don't know. It's outrageous, but they pay a lot of money for that parking. And nobody knows they can't park there. So every week you see somebody driving up. More people who drive up to the entrance of the lot think they're just going in there and paying the astronomical rate, and they got to turn around, and it becomes this whole issue. And yeah, the city does a terrible job at that. I'm sorry. They do not educate people of where they should go or shouldn't go.
Well, that's why I'm telling everyone I'm lending a helping hand here, that I got my official Flyer notification. And if you're going to tonight's Flyers game, you can park there, but no Eagle fans will be allowed to park in the Wells Fargo lot. Yeah. So for those of you
by the way,
thanks
tonight, NHL, you couldn't pause the season on a Tuesday. You got to wait till Wednesday. Come on.
They were canceling or I should say postponing the Flyers game for Thursday. So they did want to get the Tuesday game in. So I understand their scheduling the same way we're trying to understand the NFL scheduling, which comes down last game of the week. Well, there'll be two of them going at the exact same time. That would be the Rams and the Seahawks and the Eagles and the Washington football team, which, oh, by the way, because, I do a national sports talk show. I kind of need to know and see what's happening in the Rams-Seahawks game, too. And as far as I can tell, I will have no access to it whatsoever. That both games are on Fox. Both games will be playing at the exact same time. Whatever game they decide to broadcast in your area, that's a game you're going to get. If you want to watch the other game or flip over to the other game during the commercials, I think you spit out of luck here tonight. So I'm going to have to, in some way, shape, or form, stay on top of the game just by reading the accounts of what's happening, because I don't think I get to see the game. Now, I'm tied into the Eagles. I'm recording the Eagles in case anything happens. I go back and rewatch it immediately. But I kind of want to know what's happening with the Rams and the Seahawks, and I think this is one of those where the NFL fans overall are getting screwed, too.
Well, yeah,
They couldn't put it on Fox Sports 2. The NFL, all we ever talk about, John, and sorry to interrupt, is how the NFL on television is the biggest property on the face of the planet, that it's indestructible. It can do no wrong. Well, Fox has it tonight, and they're going to keep it away from a percentage of the country because they don't want to interrupt college basketball on their cable outlet. That makes no sense to me.
I'm surprised they didn't put one game on NFL Network and one game on Fox nationally. That's what I would have thought would happen. I imagine, I don't know this, I imagine they have a contract with Fox. Fox gets a certain number of games each weekend, and it's tough to break that window, and it's probably up to the TV executives more than the NFL. I always argue people do all these things. Sports Business Journal, which does a great job with the business of sports. You always see these top 50 most powerful people in sports. And, people say Roger Goodell. The most powerful people in sports are the guys who run Fox and ABC and so forth and so on. And Amazon is going to get into it now. And streaming outlets. The television executives are the most powerful people in sports, and they have contracts, and what they say goes ultimately.
I understand that, and that's why I didn't think there was a chance that this game was going to be on the NFL Network, because Fox owns the rights to both games. They're both NFC games, and they should get X amount of games for the year, X amount of games for the week. They don't want to give one up.
Yeah.
If they play at the same time,
they should.
Well, no, they shouldn't, because they paid for it all. So they don't want their audience split. They want everyone watching Fox, whichever game it happens to be. Here in Philadelphia, it'll be the Eagle game. Elsewhere, it'll be the Rams and the Seahawks. And I look for a national map to see, because, in the markets of each of the team, they'll get the hometown team. But then they have to decide what they think will do the best number in all those other markets. And that's where they'll place the game. It's a pretty balanced
tough decision because
here.
You have more passionate markets. I think with Philadelphia, Washington, you have probably certainly a better team with the LA Rams, and Seattle struggled. So, but even though you could argue they're better because of Russell Wilson, it is a tough decision.
I'll see if I can find that before the show is out. All right, we got to get into breaking down the matchup between the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. Mac and I will certainly give you our insights, and we're going to get a helping hand. Our buddy Paul Domwich, formerly Daily News, now Philly Mag, going to hop aboard and help us talk Washington, Philadelphia football right here on Birds 365.